curious to hear, what do you think about, so Andrew Yang has announced that he has a new party, the Forward Party.
Right.
I've seen him on a couple of interviews. I did see him very quickly, actually, before we went live. Someone told me on call-in that I needed to watch the segment that he did today on Rising. And I have to say, I'm a little concerned in reference to Forward Party, because Jesse Ventura was on here recently and he said he's on board with Forward Party. But I told him, I said, I didn't see anything about Medicare for All. So that's like a big one for me. But then I heard Andrew Yang earlier today, he was on Rising. And now he's saying, like, yes, he still believes in UBI, but he's not going to push for it because he doesn't think that it has a chance. So the question I think that I've had is, what exactly are the policies with Forward Party? I'm 100% for third parties. I'm just not sure about this one per se.
Right. Okay. I haven't seen the interview today. I did watch Bree's Radar from yesterday, where she kind of did a breakdown, her critiques, and her critique was similar to yours. She was saying that, the policy, there's no policies with the Forward Party that people are really wanting, like Medicare for All. And so without those policies, you don't really have a third party. And in that segment, Robbie actually, if you listen all the way to the end, when Robbie begins, he actually makes the case for what the Forward Party actually is, even though Robbie didn't know he was doing that. But he just said, what's the point of a third party if you can't even get ballot access? What's the point of even making these policies? You can create the most perfect third party you want, but if you don't have ballot access, if you can't get past all of the various different hurdles, fundraising hurdles, signature hurdles, to get that access, to get what you need, then what does it matter? Right? You have to first figure out a way to break the system to get your third party, your dream third party. In order for even it to get on the ticket, you have to break through the system that's been set up, a rigged system set up by the duopoly to keep the duopoly in place. Our leaders in the various different levels of our government, from the municipalities all the way up to the federal government, they've set up hurdles in order to prevent any other party from coming forward and challenging their power. They like it between just the two of them. So there's no incentive for them to make any change and to allow more competition. No one wants more competition. If you can rig it and have fewer people against you, then it's a better system, right? For you. So the whole point of the Forward Party, and this is where I think the party needs to work on messaging. In fact, I actually don't think it should even be called a party. I actually think it should be called a caucus. It would help people understand it better. But to be in transparency, I'm actually also on the leadership board of the Forward Party. I think Jesse Ventura might be. I'm not 100% certain, but part of my job, or what, I'm not paid or anything. I'm just part of it. I give ideas. That's all I do. I just show up to some meetings and they ask, my opinion on things. I don't get paid or anything like that. But one of my suggestions has been that the messaging is not clear, that people are looking at this as a party and they're expecting to see policies in a party, because that's what you expect when you're joining a party. You want to know, what do you stand for? And the Forward Party doesn't really stand for any of that. The Forward Party's only real objective is to break the system to allow in third parties. So you don't actually have to abandon whatever party you like, whatever your preferred party is, to be a part of the Forward Party. That's why I feel like it should be really called a caucus. But there's a reason why it's called a party. And so it is actually a party, but it really is operating more like a caucus. So the goal is to get people on both sides. So you could get Republicans, you could get Democrats, and they're endorsed by the Forward Party, and they're funded by the Forward Party. This is the most important part. They're funded, their political campaigns are funded by the Forward Party, not by Democrats or Republicans. And they run on those tickets. They then get into office. And when they're there, they implement the Forward Party agenda, which is to break the system to allow for things like ranked choice voting and to allow things like third parties coming in, any third party. So the Forward Party is doing the dirty work to allow for your favorite third party to then be able to emerge. Right now, you don't have a chance. So the Forward Party is saying, break the duopoly, and let's make it happen to where we can get in these third parties. And then you can select whichever third party you want, because your third party actually has a shot, or you won't feel like you're you won't be accused of throwing your vote away if there's ranked choice voting, right? You would say, well, I prefer this candidate and then this candidate, and you kind of rank them however you want. So that is the goal of the Forward Party. Why it's not a caucus and why it's an actual party is because in certain municipalities and states, the idea is to actually get a Forward Party candidate on the ballot where there can be ballot access for the Forward Party. So they're going about the breaking of the duopoly in a few different, they're like attacking it. You know, it's like Jurassic Park, if you just recently watched that movie, right? So like, it's like the, you know, the dinosaur that tests the fence and looks for the cracks in all the different spots, right? And goes around like, where's the cracks? So the reason why the Forward Party is using a variety of different tactics, like running candidates on running their own candidates, endorsing candidates that are running in different parties, it's just to find the weak spot in each of those different elections. Some areas of the country, you'll have to run as a Democrat. You won't have a chance if you don't. Some areas of the country, you have to run as a Republican. Some areas of the country or some cities or municipalities, it's better if you're an outsider, like on a ticket like Forward Party. So any way we could get people elected to go in there and then say, time for change. We're breaking this party up and we're going to let other people in. And that's the whole right. That's the whole goal. So that's why there are no policies in that party, because it's not meant for that.
You have explained this a lot better than Andrew has. I got to tell you, like you really broke this down. I wish he would explain it in that way, because I have seen him do a couple interviews and they keep asking the same questions, like what are the policies? And he doesn't really answer the question. And then the other thing too, is that he keeps mentioning that it's centrist. And I think for people, those of us who are further left, people who are like progressives or Marxists, etc., when we hear that word centrist, like right, for me, I think Bill Clinton.
Right. It feels like a dirty word, right? Because right. And it has been a dirty word for a long time. It's like, oh, great. So, but also one thing the Forward Party is aiming to do. So once the candidates get in there, obviously they're not going to only be voting on like breaking up the system so that third parties can come in. There's a lot of votes that happen, right? So if you're sitting in that chair and you've been elected and you're, you know, now you're endorsed by the Forward Party, when you're there, you're going to have to actually do some politics, right? You're going to have to actually vote and do your job. And at that point, then kind of the ethos of the party is to work together. So it is not clear. There isn't really a policy. It's like you just try to use common sense and make the best decisions based on, you know, whatever the issue is at that point and who you're dealing with in whichever office you're sitting in. So if you're in the state of Idaho, for example, the compromise is going to be very different than if you're sitting in California. So, you know, on things like gun control, right? So if the gun control issue comes up and you're a Forward Party caucus person sitting in, you know, the House of Reps or in the legislature of Idaho versus the legislature of California, needing to make some compromises, needing to work together means something a bit different in each scenario. So also kind of the ethos is that there's just a bit, it's a bit too much like all or nothing. Like, so if you're part of the, you know, this is why people get mad at Joe Manchin, because he's like, well, I'm from a red state. And then people don't really understand that, especially those of us living in California or not from a red state. You know, it's like something, it's like, well, just do this. Like, this is what Democrats want. And it's like, well, not really. Democrats in a red state are different than Democrats coming from a blue state. Democrats in a red state are like Republicans in a blue state, right? So you've got a bunch of different mentalities. And the idea then is to get in there and just work together to drop the animosity, drop this is my demand because I'm a Democrat and I demand that, you know, this is what our platform is. And so we're not deviating from that. It's like, just get in there and try to be as reasonable as possible and try to just get something done. So that part, I think, does kind of make people say, yeah, but what is that thing you're going to do? Are you going to agree with me? And no, in some cases, the Forward Party candidate, you would not agree with. I don't think you would agree with, let's say, a Forward Party candidate that is endorsed in the state of Idaho. That person probably is a Republican, fundamentally. But they also want to break the system. They also, you know, there's a lot of things you agree with them on, but they wouldn't necessarily represent you when it comes to policy as much in other ways. But that person is there to help you so that eventually you can have that person that represents you possibly sit there if, you know, if they get enough votes, but they would at least be able to.
I think that, you know, a lot of people really got excited about Movement for a People's Party, and we've seen which way that has gone. And so people were really disappointed about what's happening with MPP. And then they hear Forward Party and they're like, okay, well, maybe this is the right thing. This is what we should be going after. And then
Right.
they hear these things. They're like, we don't hear policies like the way you explained it, like it all makes perfect sense now. But I think when Andrew is talking about it, he doesn't explain it that way. And so I think some people are just confused, and some people are like, I hope this is not going to be another MPP where MPP said they were going to get candidates on the ballot, and it's been 5 years and none of that has happened.
Yeah, that's why there's got to be work on the messaging with the Forward Party, because it is not a traditional third party in the way you think a third party is. Like I'm a member of the Forward Party because I believe in I believe in breaking up the system and trying to get third parties in there, because I don't like my choices. I don't like Democrats and Republicans. So I want different choices. So I joined Forward Party to try to help make effective change so that I can find another party that I feel like I actually identify with, and there's actually a shot at that party making it. So that's why with Forward Party, you'll see from time to time on Twitter, you know, maybe Andrew will tweet out something like, you can be a Republican and be a member of the Forward Party. That just confuses people. So there definitely needs to, but it's true. It's totally true. I understand it, but most people don't understand it. And so I do think there needs to be better messaging with what it is, so that people understand, don't come here looking for policy. Go to your third party looking for that policy, but come to the Forward Party to help break your third party in.
Got it.